And this is what else we talked about is the Colosseum and, of course, the great Mesoamerican ball game, which sadly, from my research, there's not a lot we know about the ball game. We don't know how ritualized it was. We don't know if perhaps it was maybe kind of because I think most people seem to think gladiatorials were kayfabe, right? Like it was like it's way more like it makes way more sense that gladiatorials were kayfabed and they would take wounds that they could tolerate because there was only so many gladiators. So presumably they had to.
I don't know. I'm like a nerd about this stuff, about like socioanthropology stuff, and I believe that like the reason that comes out of things is like because like before like the modern era, warfare was just like people were in like hordes of armies and stuff, but a lot of fighting was just done by like a handful of people, and everybody else just watched. And so those were the people that then like defined themselves, that then became like they moved up, like the type of people who then were just, you know, maybe not noble, like maybe not sold like, you know, peasants, but they were noble soldiers that became kings, right? Because of the way that they fought in certain wars. And, you know, jousting and things like that is very much like how that started to get like extracted from actual warfare, where like the aristocracy was still like defined by this type of like competition, but like not, you know, murderous. And so it's like attached to that, right? Where like there would be some times where like you'd be able to make it so that your family would just have like more access to wealth and things like that by simply even participating in the Mayan ball game, because to participate in it meant that like there was a chance that you could die. So like it was just this like weird way of like of social mobility.
I would imagine too, and I'll liken it to like with the building of the pyramids. I think it's pretty well understood by people who care about or are interested in history that like largely the pyramids were built by specialized laborers and like in some cases farmers who in the off season would help do stonemasonry or whatever. But part of what they would like incentivize that for them, other than like, I don't know, you know, feeding your family, was you would achieve like you would step up and you would move up in the afterlife. You would, you know, there's whatever their socially constructed, agreed upon, like their folklore, etc. Like that's presumably there was some element of that with the ball game as well. And then the other thing is there had to be gambling. Surely, I'm sure there was some sort of gambling.
Well, that was a huge part of it, is because people didn't, because the way that those things worked is like there was like migratory societies that would like, it would be based around like when we are all going to go to this spot, and that's when the spot that like we converge, and that's the time that like the ball game is played. So that there was an element, there was an element of like egalitarian wealth destruction, where like people would just go and blow their money on the ball game, so that it was a way to like, you know, like 50-50 raffle type thing.
Yes. And the other thing, I mean, just linking back a little bit, is I know like a lot of Mayan warfare was ritualistic or like a show, like you said. Like it wasn't, I've read something to the effect of that because of the geography of the like Yucatan Peninsula and Mayan, you know, the Mayan sphere, like having marching standing armies just was not practical whatsoever. So there was small bands of ritualized warriors who would put on a show to a degree, and it would, you know, dictate like tribute and et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, then we get to like what we're seeing today. And of course, you and I are both pretty knowledgeable about pro wrestling and MMA, so that's something I'm sure we'll be circling back to in no time at all.